It is the review for the Caped Crusaders. Hello, folks. This is Mr. Green, and we're going to be talking about, in light of the recent passing of one of TV's favorite sons and icons, Adam West. We're going to pull out the the return of the Caped Crusaders, starring Adam West, Burt Ward, and Julie Newmar, who all returned to their iconic roles from the 1966 Batman series to voice their roles in this animated feature. Because this came out in limited release in theaters for about a day or two. In my side of town, which is Atlanta, Georgia, it was only here for about 3 days. And within those 3 days, within those 3 days, say if it started on Monday, by Tuesday, the Blu-ray had released in stores. So they had it in the stores and in the theater at the same time. Unfortunately, I did not get the opportunity to see it in the theater, and I do kind of regret that. I wanted to see it on the big screen, but I did go out and I got the Blu-ray, so that was a perk, and I was happy to have that. But the movie in and of itself is very entertaining, and I will say that this review may contain spoilers. So if you are sensitive to that type of material, or if I'm giving away plot points and you didn't want to hear it, you may want to skip this. If you have already seen it or you're not sensitive to that, then welcome. I appreciate you tuning in to listen. But in any case, this is definitely a big shout out and a movie that was made exclusively for the fans of the original Batman series, as it maintained and kind of kept all the elements of the original series had. And we're talking everything from the look of the character, because that Batman had a unique uniform. Robin was pretty much, he looks like he does in the comics, so there's really not a lot of change there. The primary villains that are in this movie, the Joker, the Riddler, Penguin, and Catwoman, are all there and voiced by some really good actors, particularly the guy that voiced the Riddler. And I wish I could remember his name right off the top of my head, but I don't. If it comes up to me in a little bit, I will let you know. But he did a really good job of emulating the late Frank Gorshin, who was arguably the greatest Riddler that has ever portrayed the role. I mean, you can say a lot about some of the characters that were in the original Batman series, how they became outdated and the way that they acted and things like that. Uh, and most people point to the Joker and Cesar Romero's portrayal of the Joker at the time, which I don't think that he did a bad job. He was doing what he was asked to do. That was pretty much the way that the Joker acted in the comics. So he wasn't doing anything so far fetched. But Frank Gorshin's Riddler was outstanding. I mean, it was beyond beyond words for me. Wally Wingert is the gentleman that plays the Riddler in that particular film, and Steven Weber, who we know from the TV series Wings. He voiced Alfred, so there's a little bit of a note there, and I was pretty surprised to hear that actually. But in any case, the gist of the movie is this: it is the live action show being placed in animated form. It does take place within the confines of that television universe, that being the 60s. And they do give a nod to pretty much everything that the show had done, and from the infamous Dutch tilt camera angle when the fights break out, to the sound effects that pop up on the screen, to the bat this and the bat that. I mean, and they did a nice job of having the original Batmobile show up in animated format. So definitely, if you were somebody that grew up watching this, you would want to see it. But I will say that if you didn't grow up watching it, you may want to check it out of curiosity. That this isn't, but be forewarned, this isn't the morbid, constantly brooding Batman. This is a happier version of it, at least for most of the movie. The plot being here that his dreaded top four villains have escaped. Surprise, surprise. and they have stolen a duplication ray, which they are going to planning to use in their great scheme. Which I'll leave that to the movie for you to see what the scheme is. But within the course of that, Catwoman also has a unique item that she chooses to use on Batman. That being a, a toxin, let's call it. I forget what she calls it in the movie, but we'll call it a toxin for the sake of this review. That she uses on Batman. She gives when they catch him at one point in the film, they she gives him a scratch on his cheek, which is supposed to infect him and turn him bad. Well, initially it doesn't seem like the toxin is working at all, as Batman seems pretty resistant to it. But as time goes on, he becomes a little bit more moody. He starts getting short tempered. He is viewing and seeing things entirely different. So we find that it's not that the toxin didn't work; it just worked very slowly. It didn't work as fast as it should have, which then necessitates because somewhere along the line, uh, the Riddler, the Joker, the Penguin look at Catwoman for even trying to get Batman on their side as you're becoming a liability. So they kick her out, and that necessitates, you got it, Robin and Catwoman teaming up to bring down Batman as he has gone nuts and he's trying to take over Gotham City. Well, he's not trying to take over Gotham City. He has taken over Gotham City. But and I won't go any further than that because you certainly want to have something that you can go in and look at in the course of the movie. But they do include some of the hallmark moments that you have in the TV show. That being oversized traps that that we all talked about when we watched the original Batman series. Like, why on earth did they put them in this trap and then just walk away? Explain what they're going to do and leave. But you can't have a Caped Crusaders movie and not have that. And they do have that in some ridiculously sized TV dinner factory. I don't know why they would have that, but it exists. And you have Batman do what Batman does. He figures out a way to escape. Uh, One other thing that they have in there that I found really amusing is the way Batman would chain together the smallest of clues to figure out what the crime was. I mean, it is, you have to see it for yourself, but it is the most absurd thing. Like, the answer is nothing, Commissioner, and then he just goes off on this whole tirade of, he and Robin go off on this whole tirade of what that means, and they come to, of course, the perfect and correct answer, and off to the races they go. So, I mean, it was really great to hear Burt Ward and Adam West retake the roles and come back up as Batman and Robin, which I do understand that there is another animated feature around the corner. This time it will co-star William Shatner, who's going to be taking up the role as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. So that should be really fun to hear two icons of the '60s. Uh, Adam West and William Shatner come in and take roles. Because, Adam West already was Batman, but having William Shatner kind of jump into the the fray, if you will, is going to be really a fun movie to check out. I would tend to believe. So, getting back to the review or the remaining review of the movie, uh, I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, that the other little Easter eggs that they have are the villains. The villains that they have that kind of make cameo appearances throughout the let's say the third act of the movie. You have some people in there that you will recognize by their look. You got people in there from Egghead to King Tut to Bookworm to they didn't call him Mr. Freeze in the series. I think it was Zero or Mr. I, I know he changed his name at least twice within the course of that series. Siren, Shane. I mean, they had a lot of really nice Easter eggs in there where if you watch that series, you can sit there. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that guy. I know that dude. I know Louis the Lilac. Yes. Now I can't remember everybody that portrayed the characters off the top of my head, but it's just fun to see it, and that's basically what this movie's all about. It's just a nice throwback, fun movie. It being in animated form, and if there's one thing that I know that all comic book fans have basically agreed on, if they have problems with DC live action movies, they certainly have no issue with anything that DC has produced in terms of animation. Uh, they are light years ahead of Marvel in terms of the animation front. They may not have matched up with them in terms of the live action stuff just yet. Although some people have said Wonder Woman has given them a arguable case, but in terms of animation, no comparison at all. Um, so there you have it, folks. I mean, I would definitely say it is worth your time, worth the effort. And if you're like me and you are a Blu-ray person, I mean, and I know that isn't a big thing to get at this point because you could just pretty much download it or get it on VOD and all that good stuff like that. But it is nice to go on there just for the sake of catching some of the extras where they talk about the making of the movie and some of the history behind the Batman television show and things of that nature, which I will go into it in another date and time. The Batman television show because Batman 1966 has a little bit more influence over the current Batman product than I guess most people would tend to give credit for or believe. So I think that's worth going into, and again, especially giving kind of a nod to the late great Adam West. And another kind of little side note here is that with the new movie coming out, and I can only assume that they recorded all of Adam West's material. I certainly hope that they did, and they don't have to have somebody come in and fill in. I hope that's not the case. But Adam West and William Shatner starring in this movie, I do believe, or the upcoming um, Batman Two Face feature, I do believe that this will be only the second time that Adam West and William Shatner have ever starred in anything together. The first thing being a failed pilot from many years ago. Uh, and if you scan around on YouTube, you can kind of toss that in. There is a guy that had uploaded just practically every failed show that season. I don't know how he managed to maintain or how he managed to acquire all the footage of that. Well, he didn't upload the entire show. Let me um let me correct that. What he did was he uploaded the opening sequence of all of these shows. So I don't know how he managed to grab all this stuff. I mean, it's interesting and it's fascinating that you got these two guys who, by and large, and I'm kind of hesitant to say it at this point, but by and large, these guys were kind of looked at as not great actors. William Shatner and Adam West kind of carried the stigma through a good chunk of their career, like they overact and they aren't great, and but I think that they're beloved at this point just for being who they are and taking the roles that they are. I mean, you got Captain Kirk and Batman for goodness sake, but the show was Alexander the Great. It was that was the name of the show. I think it actually released as a uh, TV movie, and from what I understand, it was shot several years earlier and looked at as one of those movies like this ain't good. We're just gonna put it on the shelf. But then Adam West and William Shatner, respectively speaking, got fame in two separate shows roughly around the same time, Batman and Star Trek. And what do you do when you got that and you got two of the top stars on TV and at the same time in one of these movies that you had that you previously said was crap? You release it, and that's what they did. So they released it as from what I understand, a TV movie. Uh, It didn't get picked up, but it got on air. So there you have it. That was a little bit of trivia that got kind of tossed in there, and I will be looking forward to seeing William Shatner and uh, Adam West, or hearing them, I should say, take place in Batman versus Two-Face, and that's supposed to be released later this year. So there we go, folks. That is the quick rundown of Batman: The Return of the Caped Crusaders. And all I can say is it was great being able to have watched Adam West throughout the years and his various incarnations on TV and the voice actor and all that good stuff. I am definitely sorry that we have lost him, but if you want to show some respect, and if you haven't seen the original series in a while, go pick some of those up. They have released on DVD and Blu-ray. And if you are just looking for a quick version of that, check out Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. We'll see you later, folks. So long, everybody.
As a kid, I used to watch you with my father. The Great Ghost was my hero.
So it wasn't all for nothing.
Please make it out to Bruce.
There you go, Bruce.
Thanks, Mr. Trent. You know, as a kid, I used to watch you with my father. The Great Ghost was my hero.
Really?
And he still is.